Hi, it's Sean SPM, and I want to welcome you to Let's Face It. This is a podcast where we talk all about the PPE industry here in Canada. Today, we're super proud to have Mr. John Rawlins on with us. He is the president of a company called The Big-Nano operating in Toronto. These guys are revolutionizing the way raw materials are being created that we use to make surgical masks with. That's a show unto itself, but we're also going to talk to John about the humanitarian effort that is spearheading for the people of St. Vincent. A volcano went off there, you know. Okay, let's get into it. Let's face it. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Face It. I'm Sean SPM, and we are super stoked to have our next guest with us today. It's a gentleman named John Rawlins, who is president and CEO of an incredible company called The Big-Nano out in Toronto. And we also, as you mentioned earlier, met him through a relief effort that Crown Mutual is a part of for the area of St. Vincent. So we'd like to speak with him about that as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce John. So John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Sean. And I must correct you, I am the president. The CEO is actually here with us as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies. My apologies. We'll definitely have to get those details straight.
Sure.
So that's what the comment section below is good for, you know. So, but thanks so much for both of you guys for making the time to hang out with me today. Then we're out here in Vancouver, 11th floor of Airport Square, and of course. We've started up this podcast called Let's Face It to talk about the PPE industry that myself personally and my colleagues have been up to our eyebrows in this last year. So it's been quite the incredible, 12 months and so of ups and downs with establishing our company and so forth with the industry. And we've been fortunate enough to connect with different organizations, such as the one called CAPM, which I keep forgetting the entire name of it. I guess Canadian Association of
PPE
Manufacturers. Yeah, exactly. So, which is where we met you, sir, and we wanted to just, I guess, jump into things with asking you if it was okay to where if you had any kind of an update as to what's happening with the relief effort and how the folks down in St. Vincent are coping so far.
Well, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they're coping. I must say they had a very hard year, especially hard because they were first of all hit with the dengue fever. Then they had to deal with the COVID outbreak. Now the volcanic eruption. But they're pretty strong people, very resourceful. And right now, actually, it's a day of national prayer. So the people are reaching out to God, family, and friends for help. And I'm actually happy to be a part of the CAPM relief efforts. If I look over my notes, the efforts has been gathering some momentum. Right now, we have companies like Crown Mutual Group donating items of we have 800,000 medical masks, 10,000 children reusable masks, and 11 reusable respirators with over 5,000 respirators, filters donated so far. So, I mean, we are very excited about the outpouring of support from the CAPM and the Canadian organization to St. Vincent. So, I'm happy to be part of it, and I'm happy to be part of the story of donation.
Sure. So now the masks, I mean, it's, due to the volcano ash, this, reason enough to have masks, available, right? But is the region already how is their COVID situation as well? I mean, that can't be helping.
It's let's just say the volcanic eruption is helping to compound the problem even more. There's COVID there, and now thousands of people have to be crowded into an evacuation shelter. So actually had a friend who called me, and she had to be sent home because of an outbreak in one of the evacuation shelters that she was working at, and 5 people came down positive with the COVID virus. So it's a tragedy on top of
it's insult to injury, if you were.
Exactly.
So, I was, looking over your really impressive bio, and you have more than one connection to the region, right? Could you let us know a little bit about your origins from there and how you kind of made your way up into Canada?
Well, I was born on the island of St. Vincent. It's the land of my birth. I must say, you asked about the connection to Canada, but I must emphasize that I knew about the generosity of the Canadian people even before I migrated here in 2007, because I grew up just across from a secondary school that was actually donated to St. Vincent by the Canadian people through their government. And later on in I worked at a hydroelectric power plant. I was a supervisor there. And that plant was actually funded in part by the Canadian government. So I know about the legendary generosity of the Canadian public, even before I migrated here here to Canada from St. Vincent. But I migrated here to further pursue my studies. But as you could imagine, most of my family and friends still living on the island of St. Vincent. Actually, in the whole crisis, I have been reaching out to my uncle. He is a doctor, Dr. Franklin James. He's an uncle at the General Hospital. He's a family doctor there. And he's been giving me the tits and bits of what's going on the ground, on the front lines there. And he's one of the persons actually instrumental in sort of giving us the data as to what is needed there. And he was the one who actually alerted me that the Consulate General to Canada from St. Vincent is actually a relative of mine as well. So that all came together pretty dramatically, I should say.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a couple of weeks for us.
Wow. That's those are quite the coincidences and connections and quite the network. So you went to school originally in St. Vincent. You were born there. You came up to Canada to go to Waterloo and to educate yourself formally. Then is that what bridged the gap into?
So I actually went to the University of West Indies. I did my bachelor's there. Bachelor's in mechanical engineering, specialized in mechanical engineer and bioengineering. I worked at the hydro plant that I was talking about, maintenance, repair. Then I just decided to further my studies. I migrated here, went to school at the University of Waterloo to pursue my PhD there. Yep.
Yeah. And was that in nanotechnology then, to assume?
It was in material technology. I actually started out doing nanoparticles with Dr. John Wen there. And then I changed my major because somewhere along the line, one professor convinced me that nanofibers was the next thing of the future. So he convinced me that if I was able to solve the problem of actually manufacturing nanofiber, that I would be a very rich man. And
sure. Yeah, there's got to be a couple. There's got to be a couple other analogies that fit into that. So you're hopefully you're on your way. So you've got the Big-Nano company started now. So tell us how that got started and what's the primary focus of the work that's going on over there.
Yes, so that actually got started back in my PhD. I was pursuing my studies, and like I said, my professor convinced me if you could solve this problem, you'd be a very rich man. And just
I love the way you put that. I love the way you put that. That's hilarious. It's like, let me ponder, and I should soon be
No, because he
Yeah.
was laying out a couple of different problems, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, you could do this
Right.
reactor jig over here.
Right.
You could
Right.
do this." But if you solve this problem, you'll be a very
Right.
famous, and a very rich man. So I was like,
Sure.
"Oh, okay."
So do you have a short list of problems, or is it just you just went right to this one?
Yeah, the short list, and I threw away everything else, and I went just to that one. So the
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
actually in
Yeah.
the nanofiber industry is actually the manufacturing process, because nanofiber has exists with us for over a century. But
Okay.
we've been using a process known as electrospinning, and the
Mhm.
problem with that, it's very expensive, and the throughputs, the yield of this process are very low, right? So there's a lot of difficulty in actually scaling up the process to where it's feasible to actually implement it on an economic scale.
Okay, I see.
So
It's expensive to make.
what exactly?
Yeah.
So my task was to try to find a cheap way, basically, to make nanofiber. And I sort of delve into that, and now I'm here at Big-Nano from that idea that I got at in my PhD, and we are focused mainly in making melt-blown nanofiber non-woven, and primarily right now we are focused on making that media for surgical level mask.
Right. So has that been the extent then of the use of the material then? Is it been primarily for surgical masks? Are you making any other kind of PPA with it?
Well, and just to put this in perspective, we were actually doing this before the whole pandemic.
Sure.
We were
Sure.
making nanofiber, but what could we use nanofiber for? And then the pandemic hit, and we just sort of pivot into making it for surgical level masks and like 95 and 99. That sort of
Right. So that's I'm so glad you mentioned that word pivot, because it's kind of a theme here on the show with a lot of businesses that have made the pivot into this. So what then was kind of driving the technology up until the pandemic then, or the pivot?
Well, we were founded in 2018. So we just bought a new plant, brought the plant in, and we were actually, when we were bringing the plant in, we had problems because at that time, COVID was just about hitting China, and we brought the plant in from China. So we were having problems bringing the plant in, and we were thinking maybe we start doing maybe dust filters and stuff like that. But by the time we got the plant in 2019 and March, set up and done everything, it just became apparent to us that we should be in the PPE industry.
Sure, right. It kind of became obvious suddenly, hey? Several light bulbs went off at once, as it were, Yeah, I know. I think there was kind of like a universal light bulb around the world, it seems like, and appropriately so, that everyone could, pull together. That's one of the amazing perspectives among many when you kind of sit back and look at what's happened, right? So what you do is fascinating to me, and it's incredibly scientific though and involved. I can't imagine the amount of applied education that must go towards what you do. I was reading the article you have published in the Journal of Applied Polymer Science. Did I say that right? Yeah. Fine liquid blowing, a high Reynolds number, high production rate, and other nanofiber manufacturing techniques. Is it possible for you to give our viewers here any kind of a breakdown as to what was going on in that work, in that study?
Yes, and I know it's a mouthful, but I was just trying in the scientific industry. You just have to try and say out loud what you're doing. But if I could break it down, sort of,
sure, please do.
Give you the layman's term.
Yeah.
When you say high Reynolds, you're just speaking about a high-speed technique. So it's just a new way of doing what we were doing before, but at a very high speed. Making it high speed, what that does is sort of open two avenues for us. So conventionally, the technique is what you call low Reynolds. In low Reynolds, what this means is that the polymer that you're processing is very significant in the process, right? But at high Reynolds, it becomes insignificant, first of all. So that opens up a very large door for us. And then by doing it at high speeds, it means that you're increasing the production rates. So it's just a new technique that is able now to process polymers at a very high rate and process a very wide range of polymers. Polymers that were unprocessable using the old conventional technique, right? And if I could geek out even more on your viewers and listeners is
Yes.
high Reynolds now, so by changing the scaling, it does some very simple but very powerful transformation. So now we are operating at higher speeds. It means that we are able to process polymers using finer nozzles, right? The finer larger nozzles. So now we are able to process polymers using larger nozzles, increases the rate, but now we are also able to make nanofiber from these larger nozzles. Whereas before, to make nanofiber, you have to use smaller and smaller nozzles. What that does means it restricts your processing capacity. Your capacity goes down. Now we are using larger and larger nozzles. So our nozzle sizes are actually increasing while the size of the fibers that we're producing are actually decreasing. And the smaller size fibers, by the way, means a higher quality product.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Which is interesting you mentioned, because one question that came to mind is like, what standards are you guys abiding to, or in terms of your testing? Is it the conventional ASTM standards, or is it falling under a NIOSH, regulation and so forth?
So we are producing surgical level mask. So that falls on the ASTM. And then we're producing NIOSH, N95 and N99 masks. So that would fall on the NIOSH.
Right.
So we have two categories of products right now.
Right. So you make the products, obviously, you design them. Do you certify and test them independently in a third-party lab?
So we make the product, right? And then we send them out to Kinetrix lab in Toronto.
Wonderful. Yes. Yeah, we know them well.
Sweet. And they'll test them, verify that they are doing what they are supposed to be doing. And then we send that material to our clients. And then they would have their mask certified. Right. So the certification is not really on our shoulders, it's on our clients' shoulders, but we ensure that what we are giving them would meet the ASTM and the NIOSH standards. Sure.
Are you familiar with, I'm not sure if this touches what you do per se, but any of the other standards that are being introduced or talked about by Canada? There's a I guess I don't know how to say it. I mean, I guess an issue, if you will, that we have in Canada with the NIOSH standard in terms of it being an American standard, and we're wanting to get some of the products that we know are safe and already certified to market. So are you familiar with anything along those lines?
Yes, I know that there is some efforts to come up with our own independent CSA standard as part of the CSA, the Health Canada initiative. But what I could say from a high level is that the NIOSH system is a very old system and really outdated system. So if you look at the standards used across Europe, for say, compared to comparing the NIOS system to them to those standards, you see that the NIOS is very outdated in some of the things, like in terms of, I'm just gonna pick one in terms of readability, for instance.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it seems like from where I'm sitting, what I've come to understand that and it's interesting as heck that that itself is also going to have to get I suppose is being looked at in real time, and being examined. So it's gonna be interesting to see what we could what we come up with here in terms of standards. I'll let you know. You let me know if you find anything else. Okay, let's keep each other informed. So what are your plans with the Big-Nano company then, like moving forward? Like what's the next steps? And I mean, you're probably
the next big thing for us that we have in the pipeline is compostable biodegradable mask. I mean, there are people who say that they're doing it, but the technology, like I was trying to say, and it's sometimes difficult for me to express to people the difference in skills and the capabilities of what we could do compared to the conventional stuff. But I think this would be a demonstration of what the technology could do, because we are working on compostable biodegradable melt blown, and we have already done it at the laboratory scale. And right now we are working now to scale this up. And I think as soon as this drops, a lot of eyes will be on us. But we are very excited to be working on this, and the technology is proving itself that it could do compostable melt blown.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you say compostable, does that can you give me any idea like the time period of how that would work? Like, is it years, I suppose, or so? Or
yeah, well, the difference between compostable and biodegradable, and sometimes I keep mixing myself up with this, is that biodegradable is on a longer time scale, and you need special digesters to sometimes break down biodegradable stuff. But compostable, it means that we could make a mask, make melt blown, and you maybe put it in your garden, and within a month, it starts decomposing.
You're kidding me! Wow, that's incredible. So you can put it in your garden, and it'll start to break down.
That's the holy grail of what people are working towards, and we have actually been very successful at the laboratory scale in producing these things using our process, our modified melt blowing process. Right here.
I'm just picturing going home to my wife in our garden going, hey, hon, I'll be out in the back of planting some masks.
Well, you see it today. I mean,
hey, masks don't grow on trees. They do actually. They sprout. That's awesome.
But we think it's a significant problem we will be solving, because.
Oh, are you kidding me? That's incredible. We'll take some of that, please. Once you figure it out. I mean, we'd love to. That's the next level. I mean, come on. One of the among this incredible list of things with these masks that I've seen recently is, you're walking out in parks and you see them on the ground and so forth. It's kind of like, or I was out at and this incredible beach, that's like a secret beach, if you will, like looking down over the edge of a thing, and like amongst the weeds down there's a face mask. It's oh man. So that's definitely timely for sure. So one final thing I want to get into before we finish up here is just your involvement with CAPM and the industry at large here. How'd you come to meet those guys, and what's your point of view on where we're at with the industry?
I think we're very integral. CAPM, actually, the president, who is Mr. Barry Hunt, actually reached out to us, and for us, it was sort of a no-brainer in terms of joining that group, in terms of solidarity and sort of pooling resources and ideas and expertise. Sure. As well, different networks. I mean, now I think it's even that more personal for me with the CAPM thing, because they're doing such wonderful job in donating to my homeland. But even before then, the mission was, in terms of CAPM, is putting CAPM in a place that it could actually compete with the worldwide PPE market. I think the technology that we have is very promising, and I think it would be able. I mean, if I could give you some numbers, for instance, our mask performing at that high filtration efficiency as a standard mask, but our mask objectively better, because for instance, our ASTM level 3 mask performing at a pressure drop of about 6 times less than the standard. The standard is you must be less than 6 millimeters of water to be qualified as a level 3 surgical mask. We are performing right now all melt blown at 0.7, right? Which is miles below, miles ahead of what the industry is doing. And we are proud of those numbers, and we think translating these numbers and leveraging these numbers is what we want to do, and sort of put Canadian PPE manufacturers on the map.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, you know what? Keep up the good work, my man. You are an impressive character, and I'm super happy I've met you. And thanks so much for taking some time to come on here and let us know how things work over at Big-Nano, and for, again, your efforts with the St. Vincent thing beyond noble. So just great to come into your company. So thanks so much.
Thank you so very much, Sean, and thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. So we're going to have your website and some other information below for people that watch the show, and we'll be in touch as well with links and all that kind of fun stuff. So until then, we'll sign off, and we'll see everyone soon. So thanks again for joining us on Let's Face It. And my name's Sean SPM. Take care of yourselves. Stay covered, by the way. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.